Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto's betrayal awakened the shadows of Kushina, Haku, and Temari. Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. It was nighttime in Konoha, with most of its people asleep, out dining at a restaurant, or if on guard duty, were doing just that. Guard duty. However, there is one dark figure in the quieter, more citizenry area of the Leaf Village that this story focuses on when it starts, as a lone dark cloaked figure wearing a white mask walked to a single residence to fulfill his objective for the night. His objective was nothing more than the pain and suffering being delivered upon the one person residing in that one building, who was responsible for causing him pain years ago, and it was high time this person paid his debts. This person was Hitaki Kakashi. Right now that man wasn't home, or at least not yet anyway, having celebrated at a local bar over an occasion the masked warrior hated with a passion. Entering the house was not difficult, as Hitaki Kakashi was so well respected that not one citizen in Konoha would have the nerve to break into the man's house, and possibly do something unspeakable to the veteran shinobi. They never met him before, or at least they knew him anyway. The masked figure loved the darkness of this place, wondering why in the world he spent so many years trying to be a part of the side that filled with light. Ha, what a joke that was to him now. It wasn't even funny, making it all the more ironic in the complex mind of the unknown entity. About an hour later, the masked mystery man sensed Kakashi coming home, drunk of course, and his senses dulled from several intakes of sake. If the masked figure had a shred of his old self in him, he would almost pity Hitaki, but not now, and he would never show this man mercy anymore. Not even the mercy of death. As expected, Kakashi entered the house stumbling slightly from his intoxication, not caring if anyone saw him in such a state, and tried to walk to the living room to fall on the couch into a drunken sleep. Such an idea was interrupted, however, when a figure appeared from the shadows of the darkened room, and his mask making him look like a spirit of sorts. Hitaki Kakashi, said the figure, his voice a deathly whisper that helped Kakashi's inebriated senses slowly focus on the enigma. Yes, said Kakashi, as his mind began to become aware of the second uninvited person in his household, and moved a hand in a casual manner to his kunai holster near his leg. I've come to deliver vengeance upon you in the name of the one you have betrayed for another betrayer, said the masked figure, taking another step forward casually. May I ask you just who I have betrayed? Said Kakashi while he silently opened his kunai pouch. Uzumaki Naruto, said the figure, seeing the man's emotions play out on his drunken half-hidden face. Naruto. That Kyuubi reincarnated spawn. The same Uzumaki Naruto, who killed my sensei, and so many Leaf Shinobi 17 years ago. I didn't betray him. I got justice for those that he killed when in his demon form, said Kakashi, his voice becoming more serious despite the drunken state he was in. According to who? You think I am so stupid as to believe that poor excuse, Hitaki? I know the real truth behind your lies, and I think if your sensei knew of your betrayal to Naruto 4 years ago at the Valley of the End, then he would have spit in your face, and denounced you in being one of his students, said the masked figure before he moved quickly in dodging several kunai and shuriken aimed at him by his prey. Shut up. You know nothing. Do you know who I am? I am Hitaki Kakashi, the son of the White Fang, the sensei to Uchiha Sasuke, and the slayer of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, known in human form as Uzumaki Naruto. Said Kakashi, trying to engage the figure in hand-to-hand combat. According to whom? Said the masked man, his voice now becoming demonic before a flash of red appeared on the outline of his figure before the masked man moved so fast that Kakashi, sober with Sharingan exposed, would be no match for him. It can't be. He died, thought Kakashi, his eye widening in shock, as his drunken state was nearly gone thanks to the adrenaline running through his veins, and as he reached for his headband to reveal the Sharingan, it was stopped by a hand on his wrist followed by a hand on the throat. You, along with all of Konoha, will suffer, and all those in the Leaf will know that soon the very shinobi village that the Shadaime founded over a century ago with his brother will burn, in hell, said the figure behind into the scared man's ears before he gave the throat a tighter squeeze, making Kakashi fall into unconsciousness moments later. Hokage Tower the next day. Tsunade sighed, as she waited for Kakashi to get to the Junin meeting, and wondered why she was even holding onto the job she hated so much. She involuntarily grabbed the jewel around her neck that was near her large bosoms, which Jiraiya would have given his soul to the Shinigami to have his face deep in them, and said a silent prayer to the boy that made her believe again. Why did you have to die, Naruto? Why? Thought Tsunade, as she closed her eyes while she held back the tears that threatened to overflow from them even now, and wished that things did not go how they did in the Valley of the End. Hokage-sama, may I go look for Kakashi? He's later than usual and this meeting can't be delayed by him any longer, said Asuma, who secretly wanted to smoke a cig outside since Tsunade had forbidden it, and the nicotine was getting to him. You might as well start with his house. Chances are the tardy bastard is still sleeping right now, said Tsunade, seeing Asuma walk out the door, knowing what to give the man for a wake-up call. A good fist to his face. The group before her, consisting of Kurenai, Anko, Genma, Guy, Shizune, and of course herself, waited for Asuma to come back with Kakashi. Anko was nibbling on a dango stick, Kurenai filed her nails, Guy was talking to Genma about wearing green spandex would make the Senbon-eating man near choke on the blasted thing, and Shizune was beside Tsunade waiting with a fidget in her step every few seconds. Tsunade herself was tapping the desk patiently before she was becoming impatient, with her finger leaving a noticeable indent in the wood of her desk. Where the hell are those two? Said Tsunade, getting angrier by the second while those in front of her became wary, knowing she would hit anyone making a wrong move. Hokage-sama, Hokage-sama, said Iruka, running into the room looking deathly pale. His eyes widened to the point it looked like they would fall out of his eye sockets, and he was sweating heavily. Though it was more out of fear than exhaustion. What's wrong? Said Tsunade, looking at Iruka, knowing that there were very few things that could frighten someone of Iruka's sound mind. It's Kakashi. He's been attacked. I need your help right away, said Iruka, as he motioned for her to follow him, and she did with all the others in the room. They arrived at the man's hospital room with muffled sounds of screaming being heard from it, and for a moment Tsunade thought the man was being killed or not being given painkillers. Upon entering the room, the Hokage froze at the sight of the man, as she realized that no amount of painkillers given could stop the muffled cries of pain that Kakashi had endured. Hitaki Kakashi's body had, for the lack of a better word, been completely massacred, and was now covered head to toe in bandages with blood coming out of the wounds. Or rather, if he had toes or hands even, but what frightened Tsunade was that Kakashi's body was barely half of what it once was when whole, and had it not been for such a sight of so much blood she would have screamed. His arms were missing just past the elbow, his legs just past where the kneecaps would be, and his mouth was muffled from bandages covering his entire face. Hokage-sama, we're glad you are here. We've given him as many painkillers that his body can take, said one of the doctors, who nearly lost his lunch at the sight of the man when he was admitted into the hospital by Asuma. What happened to his body? What are the injuries behind the wrappings? Said Tsunade, though she was afraid to see for herself, considering the bandages were quickly being consumed in blood. I've never seen anything like it. His body has been turned into something I cannot even begin to describe right now. We nearly lost him right when he came in, but at the same time there is something that is keeping him alive that I wish was somehow our work, and it's like the man is hanging to an invisible thread connected to whoever did this to him, said the doctor, seeing the man, or rather what was left of the man, struggle to scream out in pain. What are his injuries? Said Tsunade, with Shizune beside her ready to help, not caring that the other Junin were staring at Kakashi's broken form in shock and fear. Aside from the loss of his 4 limbs up to their joints, Hitaki Kakashi was slashed, cut, stabbed, gutted, and finally mauled by his attacker. Either this was some sadistic enemy shinobi or we could have another, said the doctor, only to be silenced by Tsunade, who was not going to let the man speak the next word. The last thing Tsunade wanted was for rumors to get out of some kind of demon running around. All of you head to Kakashi's home and get some Inuzuka clan members in Anbu to help you find out what happened there, said Tsunade, seeing the group nod and head off to Kakashi's home to find out who his attacker was. Hokage-sama, there is something else you should know, said the doctor, seeing her attention back on her once more. What? Said Tsunade, seeing the doctor looking extremely nervous right now. There is another reason why Kakashi had to be bandaged up along the face like he is now that I didn't want to say in front of the other shinobi in the room. You see, when we began to save him, we noticed that his Sharingan eye along with his normal eye were missing, and to add further insult to injury, his jaw and tongue had also been ripped out as well, said the doctor, seeing Tsunade's face turn pale as well. That's not possible, said Tsunade. Her heart was beating faster in fear at just what she was now dealing with concerning this attack on Kakashi. It is Hokage-sama. I checked myself. Kakashi-san's tongue was ripped right out almost from where it first was, and his jaw was broken in several places before whoever did this to him removed it. Someone or something did this to him that for all intended purposes wanted Kakashi to feel one thing: pain, And lots of it, said the doctor, knowing he was going to need to drown himself in sake to make this nightmare go away. Outside the hospital, the cloaked figure, who had decimated Hitaki Kakashi, looked down from the building across the street to see the group of shinobi minus Shizune and Tsunade leaving the hospital towards the victim's home. His head to the right, wondering if he should pay them a visit at the hospitalized man's home, but thought against it, as they were nothing to him, and his real objective lied with Konoha in general. It's finally time to set things in motion in making the Leaf Village run red with blood, said the figure before heading out to do what he had planned. Kakashi's house. Who do you think could have done that to Hitaki-san? Said Genma, as the mere sight of the once great Hitaki Kakashi reduced to the closest thing to a walking corpse made his spine shiver, and let out a noise to follow it. More like what could have done that? I've seen my fair share of mangled bodies, and let me tell you, none of them were ever like that. Whatever happened in his house was done to punish the physical body. Kami only knows what happened to the poor bastard's mind from the ordeal, said Enko, reaching the door covered in tape with Anbu guards at the sides of the door. It's not a pretty sight in there, said the Anbu with an owl mask on, and had the group seen behind the ANBU's mask they would have seen it was greener than made a guy's spandex uniform. Nodding, the group entered the house, finding that aside from the taped-up living room, everything else was intact, but when they looked into the said living room area, their faces turned pale, and then green at the sight of it all. Blood was everywhere from floor to ceiling and on each of the walls in between, with words like traitor, murderer, and cheater running all over them in Kakashi's blood. Holy shit, said Enko, seeing the group behind her nod their heads in agreement. We're here, said Kiba, with Hana behind him with their dogs, only for the said animals to cower in fear at the scent that gripped their noses. What's wrong, Akamaru? Said Kiba, knowing that the scene was horrible, but not so bad that it would make his partner want to run away. The dog gave a whining sound, as did Hana's dog, and the two Inuzukas looked at each other with worried eyes. Something you wish to share with us, my frightened youthful friends? Said Guy, seeing the look on their faces was not good. Akamaru says that he can smell demonic chakra in this room. It's the kind of chakra Naruto used during the Chunin exams against Neji, said Kiba, seeing the group around him wince at that, since Naruto's death had been a very sore subject for Tsunade, and no soul in the village was safe from the Hokage's wrath if his name was mentioned in the investigation. Are you sure? Said Kurenai, knowing that Hinata wouldn't stand for anyone smearing the dead boy's name. Sakura had found that out the hard way in nearly losing an arm from one upset Hyuga heiress. Positive. My dog sensed it too. It's faint, but it's there, and it's definitely the same kind as Naruto-san's was, said Hana, wondering what this could mean for the Leaf. You don't think that? Said Kiba, only to be silenced by a glare from his older fellow shinobi. We don't know. It's all speculation right now. Let's continue to gather what evidence we can and then report it to the Hokage when the time is right, said Kurenai with the others in full, and began to help the investigative team find out what happened. Hokage's office 4 hours later. Tsunade collapsed into her chair, exhausted from using every medical trick, technique, and jutsu she knew of to fix what she could of Kakashi's body. She was so drained right now she didn't even want to touch sake, right now, and that was saying something since she always had sake, after a hard day of doing anything. I wish Naruto was here. If he were, I would give him this job right now and get the hell out of this dump to drink or gamble, thought Tsunade, wishing the boy was here, but no, he was dead according to Kakashi, having given his life to keep Sasuke in Konoha, and the blonde's body was destroyed by the clash of the two powerful jutsus used in that fight, leaving only the blood-stained necklace to return to her. Senju Tsunade, said the masked figure, walking out from the shadows, making the woman look up at the figure before her. Who are you? How did you get in here? Said Tsunade, rising to her feet in hope she still had enough chakra in her body to still fight. That is irrelevant on both counts right now. However, I am here for a simple reason, and that reason is that you have something I want, said the masked man, pointing to her chest and the necklace she wore. Many have said that, and all those that wear it except me have died, said Tsunade, as she had no intention of giving this necklace up, and she got into a fighting stance. Where in the hell were her Anbu guards? If you are concerned about your Anbu guards outside the door, then I suggest you just don't bother worrying about them since they are dead, and focus more on me, said the masked man, revealing a bloody hand stained in fresh guard of her Anbu, which told the slug princess this guy was telling the truth, and to take him seriously. You attacked Kakashi, said Tsunade, pointing an accusing finger at the figure, who just his head to the side, as if wondering if what she said was true, and then brought it back to normal. The traitor got what he deserved. He betrayed someone close to you and that person's family. Do not pity him. Do not defend him, for if you do defend the traitor, I will do what I did to him, to you, said the masked man holding out his hand, as if to tell her to throw the necklace to him, and a seemingly confident belief that she would. Need I remind you that I am a Hokage and to attack one will make you an enemy of the other hidden villages, said Tsunade, hoping such a fear, as being hunted by all 5 hidden villages would make the enigma falter, and give her the opening she needed. He didn't even budge. Nice bluff, Tsunade, but it won't work. I've already destroyed a good portion of them already, and those that survived have already submitted to me, said the masked man with a sound in his voice sounding quite pleased with his work. Wait, Iwa, Kumo, and what was left of Mist have submitted to you. Then that means you're the, said Tsunade, her heart going much faster, as the memories of the various reports she got about those villages being decimated, and how they submitted to a single entity in the aftermath responsible for it. Correct. I am the Yukokage, said the masked figure, seeing her eyes widen at the title he gave for himself, though there was no actual hidden village to speak of he called his own. He was a kage without a village, yet commanded 3 separate villages, and each was now being rebuilt under his direct command. The man that killed 200 Junin from Sound, Orochimaru's right-hand man Kabuto, he was the decapitator of the Tsuchikage, and the Raikages while giving the latter to the Hyuga branch clan in a box with the words, guilty, written on the dead bald Cloud Shadow's head. The former was sent to the Fire Daimyo with a note telling the feudal lord to not have anyone pursue him for anything that occurs later on in Fire Country or there would be hell to pay. Why do you want the necklace? To fund the 3 villages that kneel to you like wounded dogs, said Tsunade, as she saw him lower his hand, and she knew that he realized she wasn't going to willingly give up the Shadaime's necklace. No, simply because the necklace you wear is not yours to have, said the masked man, taking a step forward, and Tsunade tensed while getting ready for an attack. What are you talking about? This necklace has been in my family since my grandfather first founded this village, said Tsunade, wondering what scheme this man was getting at with her. Yes. However, you bet that necklace against someone, who won that bet, and it belongs to him, said the masked man, taking several more steps forward with Tsunade taking a careful step back. That person is dead, killed by the curse of this necklace. Why you claim it to be yours I still don't see, said Tsunade, feeling her body sweating. The tiny hairs on her neck were standing on end, and she felt his unyielding presence made her want to fall to her knees in surrender. No, that person still lives, said the masked form before her, as he removed his white mask and his hood to reveal to a shocked Tsunade the face of Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto, said Tsunade, seeing the boy before her had grown to be taller than even her, and his face held none of the warmth she remembered when she saw him. His eyes were that of the Kyubis with fox slits for pupils, his whisker-like birthmarks were more defined, almost like had actually grown whiskers, and his hair from what she could see was now blood red, the light in the room making it look like it had an almost unnatural shine to it, like it was filled with blood. She then saw his hand outstretched again, motioning her to give him the necklace since it still belonged to him. That's Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto to you, said Naruto, snarling at Tsunade, who felt an incredible surge of fear in her again, as this boy was looking at her as if she had been the one to kill him, and right now he looked ready to kill her. Naruto, said Tsunade, but was cut off by Naruto's growling at her with his eyes glowing with unimaginable hate in them. That's Namikaze-sama to you, old hag. Now give me the necklace or I'll kill you, said Naruto, his eyes giving no room for negotiation. Did he just threaten me? The Naruto I know doesn't threaten people and demand things from them. Is this the work of the Kyubi? Thought Tsunade, looking at Naruto for what seemed to be a new light that she didn't want to see since she last saw him. Since you seem to be quite reluctant to give me the necklace back, I'm going to ask you a little question concerning my mother, said Naruto, lowering his hand and taking one more step forward, putting him in striking distance of the female Hokage. What about? Said Tsunade, finding herself almost shivering under his demonic gaze. Why didn't you come back to the village when she was with me to save her from dying during the pregnancy? Said Naruto, his eyes glowing with so much hate that Tsunade felt like she was going to throw up. I didn't want to go back because of the bad memories I had of those I loved dying, said Tsunade, hoping he would believe it, only to find his hand wrapped around her throat and her pinned to a nearby wall. Liar. You think I am some kind of moronic baka? Are these the eyes of a baka to you? Said Naruto, his voice losing all sense of humanity in it and became demonic. What do you want me to say? Said Tsunade, trying to figure out what Naruto was getting at. You don't remember. Perhaps I should just refresh your memory since the journal my mother kept that was locked away in the old man's desk seems to have slipped your mind. About 6 months into my mother carrying me, the doctors ran some tests showing she was going to have severe complications when I was born, and were more than likely to be fatal if not treated by a top doctor of your level. You were summoned by my father to arrive here in Konoha within a window of a few months to make sure that such birth-giving related problems didn't kill her. But according to her journal, you said no, and for what? All because you owed my mother a sum of 400 ryu from an old gambling debt you made with her 2 years prior when she and my dad were still dating. 400 ryu. That was the price on my mother's life because you were thinking with your wallet and just couldn't stand the shame of being in Konoha to not only save my mother, but pay her back the money you owed her. You wretched old drunken whore. To think I nearly gave my life just so you could be Hokage. Said Naruto, his chakra now becoming purely demonic before slamming Tsunade from the wall onto the desk making it collapse upon impact. Naruto. I'm sorry. I just, said Tsunade before she felt his foot slam into her stomach making her cough up blood. Shut up, wench. I through listening to you plea, moan, and beg for mercy. I'm here in Konoha to take what is mine. Money, scrolls, and anything else that has been marked by either side of M family. However, don't think I won't leave without giving Konoha a proper parting gift, and leave without a proper goodbye. While you were out saving Hitaki's remaining shred of a thing he calls a life, I was walking around this dump of a village I used to call home to take care of unfinished business, and I have a feeling it's going to go off well, with a bang. Said Naruto before snapping his fingers after lacing his form with Kyuubi's chakra that was now his own. Within a time span of 3 seconds, various explosions were heard throughout the village with screams of people getting hit hard by the explosions. Naruto, please don't do this, said Tsunade, wishing this was all a bad dream for her, but it wasn't, and it wasn't a bad dream, it was a nightmare. I told you, old hag, I'm taking what it is mine by birthright that the stupid council has deliberately denied me since I was born, and I will not have it lost in the hands of your precious Uchiha. Oh, and speaking of him now that we're on the subject. Tell him that I want my rematch, and I want it in 2 years' time. Tell him that I won't hold back this time, that I will kill him, and I'm going to make sure that he along with the rest of the leaf are remembered as the Yukokage's little bitch. Said Naruto, leaning down to her ear, whispering it to her with each syllable he spoke, and removed the necklace from her neck. Putting his mask and hood back on, Naruto ignored the crying that Tsunade was now doing, and began walking out of the room, not caring about the explosions all over the village. Konoha streets. The place was in chaos with people running around screaming and yelling to everyone else that the village was under attack by another shinobi village. They were so worked up that they ignored him amidst the panic he had created, and with shinobi trying to figure out what the hell was going on, it made things so much easier to walk out the front gate after knocking the 2 guards away like they were nothing. Hanging from his waist was a storage scrolls with a blood seal on it, so only he could open it, that contained everything that was his family's legacy and more. With each step Naruto took, he could hear each explosion go off one after the other, and he ran through a list of all the places that needed to be destroyed. The orphanage had been blown up with people inside of it, shops that refused him or overcharged him were now consumed in fire with people in them dead or dying, and the various homes of certain people in Konoha that had made his life miserable were now lost too. Turning to look back at the village, he stared at the 5 Hokage heads from the Shidaimes all the way to his Gondaime that was the founder's granddaughter, and with just the raise of his hand he made the sky turn red before bringing his arm down, making red lightning to strike all 5 head, making them catch on fire. Satisfied with his work, Naruto turned away, and didn't look back at the village while ignoring the screams of people in pain. Naruto didn't care about people anymore. He hated them with a passion. He had already made an example out of Iwa, Kumo, and Mist in regards to how his mind worked when it came to these things. He just wanted to see the elemental countries burn before he planted new life into them that he alone would command. They were his pawns to play with, his loyal followers that would fight another set if he commanded them to, and so much more. It was through his might that they lived, it was through his spirit that had purpose, and it was through him that the human race was even allowed to exist in the world. He was the bringer of life and the bringer of death. He was Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the Yukokage of the elemental countries. Hokage Tower. Hokage-sama. Hokage-sama, said to Anbu, trying to help the woman get back to the land of the awake, as they had tried to reach her first at the hospital only to look for her the tower, and when they saw the guards dead they feared the worst. Get away from her, you idiots. Can't you see she's in shock, said Jiraiya, having come to Konoha as soon as he heard what happened to his former teammate in the village. Jiraiya, said Tsunade weakly, looking up at the toad Sanin like a frightened child, and the man knew whatever it was she saw was huge. Tsunade, calm down, everything is going to be alright, said Jiraiya, as he picked up the woman, and putting her on the nearby couch to help get her head together. I betrayed him, Jiraiya. We all betrayed him and he hates us for it, said Tsunade, her eyes now filled with more tears, as she clung to him, and he held her closely. Who did this to you, Tsunade? Said Jiraiya, knowing that she knew he was really saying, who broke your spirit? Naruto. It was Naruto, said Tsunade before she began to weep in his arms, while the man himself was shocked, having believed his student was dead. It can't be. Naruto died at the Valley of the End. At least that was what Kakashi said. Oh Kami, the prophesy. The prophesy is about to come to pass soon, thought Jiraiya, as he held Tsunade tighter, and rocked back and forth slightly to soothe her. Find him, Jiraiya. Find him and stop him. You are the only one who can, said Tsunade, as she looked up at the Sannin, and hoped he understood what she meant. I understand, said Jiraiya, wishing he had not left his godson behind all those years ago and had actually been there for him when he needed him the most. Now, he would have to kill the once kind boy now turned into a demon. Elsewhere 2 days later. This has become a problem, said Pain, having gathered all his fellow Akatsuki members together. Or rather what was left of them. Deidara and Sasori were dead, having been killed a little over 6 months ago while trying to extract the demon from Subaku no Gara, only to have them die at the hands of the Yukokage. Sasori's puppets had been destroyed along with the man himself, while Deidara was used to get the Yukokage into Iwa before crippling the shinobi village into submission. If what is flying out of Konoha true, I think I can safely say we're royally screwed, Pain-sama, said Konan, looking at their leader, who looked at her with a raised eyebrow. Really? Just because we lost 2 members does not mean we are doomed. Those 2 were the weakest of us all and we still outnumber the Kyuubi vessel, said Pain, seeing Kisame looking nervous with Itachi appearing doubtful. I heard he crushed the Raikage and took one of our targets from us as his own personal bodyguard. Does that mean Itachi and Kisame are accompanying us to get the Nibi? Said Hidan, looking at the leader of the organization, who seemed to be thinking at the moment. Possibly. If we can get both vessels, we can accelerate our plans back on track. Also, let us not forget about Suna's demon vessel. Once we have removed the Kyuubi and the Nibi vessels from the equation, we will capture the Shukaku for his extraction process. Are we clear? Said Pain, seeing the group nod to him in affirmative. Yes. What should we do about Orochimaru? He's become more unstable thanks to the death of his right-hand medical assistant and now knows the one responsible for it, said Itachi, knowing that Orochimaru's wrath was nothing to scoff at even with his skill level. Let the snake come after Naruto. If we get lucky, the 2 will weaken each other, and give us the chance of taking care of them with greater ease. Now go, said Pain, seeing almost all the projectors around his own end except for one. Something about this is bothering me, Pain, said Konan worriedly, knowing that when she was worried, her feelings were normally right, and that paying attention to them was very wise. How so? Said Pain, knowing that Konan's feelings were second to none in sensing the impending dangers ahead. I have been having disturbing dreams as of late. The sky is bleeding red, rain that is the color of the darkest blood ever, and the ground around me was covered in an almost unearthly flame. It was if I was in the very depths of hell, only the hell was here, said Konan, hoping her mind wasn't playing tricks on her. Don't worry about it for now. Let us focus on finding the other demon vessels before we deal with the premonitions that you seem to be getting, said Pain, seeing her nod and her projection ended. Her dream was interesting, said Madara, appearing in the shadows while looking at Pain's projected form. Is it of things to come? Said Pain, having found Konan's intuition about these things to be very important in his mission. I don't know. I've been having dreams as well. Only I'm in a forest stained in blood, the moon is blood red, and I hear the bloodlust-filled howl of a fox not far off. Be careful, Pain, or all of our work will be destroyed. I barely got out of mist without being noticed, and that was a few years ago. If those 4 fail, I may have to step in and dead with the Kyuubi vessel myself, said Madara before his form faded back into the shadows. Pain's projection ended as well, with the man thinking about what Konan saw and what Madara said. Unknown location. Welcome home, Yukokage-sama, said Yugito Ni in a seductive tone, pressing her body against his while purring at feeling his body against hers. Yugito-chan. How are you? Making sure things are all right while I'm away, said Naruto looking at the woman with somewhat sound of warmth in his voice. Good, but I was bored. Kimimaro was complaining again on how he couldn't join you on your trip to Konoha to make all those people pay for their sins against you. Frankly, I don't know why you made me resurrect him in the first place, said Yugito, whining slightly when she talked about Orochimaru's former bodyguard and once potential body to steal. Because he needs to atone for his past sins in serving Orochimaru. You know that. I am giving him a chance at living again with a renewed purpose, said Naruto, sitting down on the couch of the room with Yugito right next to him, almost on his lap. But what about the other two you mentioned? Said Yugito, wondering why the two during the man's mission to Wave Country weren't resurrected as well. They deserve to rest in peace, Yugito, so let's do just that. I have no desire to take the two most influential people in my life and make them fight for me when they don't need to anymore, said Naruto, taking off his mask and putting it on the table in front of him. Once word gets out on just who you are, a lot of people are going to come after you, and try to kill you, said Yugito, looking worriedly at him while resting her head comfortably on his shoulder. It doesn't matter. Soon I will crush them, as they tried to crush me, and I will make the sky rain upon their village with their own blood. I will bring judgment to all, who have made people like us, and others with painful pasts like us pay for it with everything they have, said Naruto before touching the jewel hanging around his neck. I love it when you talk like that, said Yugito, snuggling up closer to him and purring further near his ear. Yugito, you know that, said Naruto, only to find a finger on his lips telling him to be quiet for her. I know, I just want to be close to you. Even though you won't let anyone in, I'd like to think I'm pretty damn close. So let me be this close to you, for as long as you'll let me, and hold me when I sleep, said Yugito, her voice getting more tired by the second before she fell asleep on him. All right, Yugito, I'll hold you, said Naruto in a quiet voice, as he too became tired, and fell asleep holding onto Yugito. Konoha Hospital 2 weeks later. Are you sure you want me to do this? If I enter his mind and see what he went through, I may not survive it, said Inoichi, looking at Tsunade, who glared at the man hard with an I don't give a damn look, and the Yamanaka held back a shiver that wanted to leave his spine. If we're going to get answers, you need to do this. Now stop stalling and do it, said Tsunade, yelling the second sentence, which nearly made the man fumble with his hand signs, and screw up his clan's jutsu. Hokage-sama, if I may ask, what caused Naruto to? Said Shizune, only to be silenced by Tsunade, who gave her a death-given glare that she had never given to her in all the years they had been together, and it frightened the younger woman immensely. Never speak his name to me in present tense, Shizune. As far as I'm concerned, that boy is dead to me. All that he was has been corrupted or destroyed by the Kyuubi inside of him. Understand? Said Tsunade, making Shizune tremble in front of her teacher. Why yes, Hokage-sama, said Shizune, wishing the woman had not fallen into such a state of depression and anger. After what happened, the official damage report had been devastating, and it wasn't just the physical damage either the village had suffered. The Namikaze and Uzumaki bank accounts had been drained clean of all their money, the Namikaze compound had been drained of everything in it from scrolls to furniture, and the forbidden scroll had been taken too from its safe with note in there instead with the words, "Not worthy," written on it. The causalities had been enormous for both civilian and shinobi, as homes had been lost, the money those people had been taken, and the multiple lives snuffed out from the attack. The Hokage monument was, according to her Anbu, trying to fix it, permanently damaged. The faces looked like they had been beaten within an inch of their lives, as the scars seemed to be laced with demonic energy, and various other marks were on them in the most horrible of designs, making it look like they were crying. Hokage-sama, I have Yuhi Kuranai and her former genin team with her, and they wish to know their mission, said Iruka, having left the academy, or what was left of it, since the rooms were badly damaged and having class wasn't an option. He was actually glad Konohamaru and his teammates with Ebisu as their sensei were off on a C-ranked mission to escort a man to one of Fire Country's major ports. Send them in, said Tsunade, not taking her eyes off the form of Hitaki Kakashi, who, despite being invaded mentally by Inoichi, was still screaming out in muffled pain, and the painkillers seemed to have no effect on lessening it. You called for us, Hokage-sama, said Kuranai, knowing that whatever it was, it had to be important, and it concerned the one person that no one dared speak of. Jiraiya told me he thinks he's found Nar the Kyuubi, but needs some backup. At the very moment, you are all I can really spare, since the village needs to recover, and I need someone to back up my old perverted teammate, said Tsunade, looking at the group of four, seeing their eyes widen, and understood what she was getting at. You need us to distract the demon so Jiraiya can finish him now that he possess a mortal body, said Shino, knowing that he was skating along the issue with his old teammate, but knew he was safe since he didn't mention the fallen shinobi's name, and hoped the others would do the same. Yes. This is an SS-ranked mission, and while we don't have the money to pay for it, I'll do what I can to pay you later down the road, and get you more support when it becomes available. I sent a request to Suna for help, but Gaara turned it down, saying he owed his life to him because of Akatsuki, and refuses to betray him whether he's a demon or not, said Tsunade, knowing the other reason was because the demon had spared Suna any kind of destruction so far. Whether the people in Wind Country would admit it or not, they had already submitted to the Yukokage's will. Naruto-kun, are you still you, or has your spirit been destroyed by the demon you held? Thought Hinata, hoping that the boy she admired for so long and cared for was still in that state he was in. We will leave immediately, Hokage-sama, said Kurenai, as her team would need just about every single piece of shinobi gear they could get their hands on, and head out to help Jiraiya. If they could help, that is. Inside Kakashi's mind, Inoichi wished he could leave Hitaki's mind right now so he could puke his guts out before killing the man for what he had done to Naruto. Kakashi's Chidori to Naruto from behind at the Valley of the End was the straw that broke the camel's back. No wonder the demon possessed the boy and took his revenge on the man before attacking village that had abused its vessel. Kakashi had on more than one occasion sold out Naruto to a mob during his birthday and had nearly hit him with a Chidori once had the Sandaime not shown up. The former Anbu captain had ignored his post on numerous occasions, with the two councils getting the man off from any charges the Hokage wished to press against him. I don't know whether to be glad or frightened by what I'm about to see, thought Inoichi, as he entered the man's memory of being tortured mercilessly by demon, and it was quite a sight. You have no right to call yourself the slayer of Kyuubi or a student of my father. You are nothing but an insect that needs to know its place in the world, and I am just the person to do it, said Naruto to a tied-up Kakashi hanging in the air, who couldn't move his head due to a neck brace, and his arms wrapped in heavy chains with each of his fingers broken to prevent jutsus from being used. You are not Minato Sensei's son. I am his only son. Me. If that Uzumaki hadn't seduced him and made him help her sire you, I would be the only child they would ever need, said Kakashi, earning him a clawed backhand to his face, tearing the mask and flesh from the Junin. I'm sure my father would love to hear you say that to his face right now. Did you tell him how you felt? Did you call her to his face? No. Because you were a spoiled little child just like Sasuke is. Always have to have everything and destroy everyone in your path that prevents you from having it. We'll make no mistake, Kakashi, I will see to it that you get what's coming to you, and that when it's over you can rightfully call the pain I'm about to inflict on you, your own. Said Naruto, as he drew a sword, and began to systematically destroy Kakashi's being. Inoichi was in shock, as the demon claiming to be Naruto was simply destroying Kakashi without asking him question, as if he already knew the answers, and savagely butchered the Junin's body. The man screamed for hours on end, with the seals hidden on the walls that suppressed noise from exiting the room, staying active throughout the ordeal. Well, it's not like Kakashi had it coming, thought Inoichi, seeing the demon finally stop after taking out both of Kakashi's eyes, having already removed the jaw with tongue. Inoichi, I know the old hag sent you in here to enter Hitaki Tem's mind, so deliver this message to her from me. Tell her what I have done here and what Konoha went through is nothing compared to what I have in store for the elemental countries. Tell her, I know she is going to send Ero Sennin after me, and that I have my own grudges against him to deal with. Tell her, the next time she sees her old teammate, will be in a box with only his rotting flesh-covered skull, said Naruto before he looked over at Inoichi's general area, allowing the man to see the blood-red eyes staring him. Feeling nervous and quite scared, Inoichi ended the jutsu, and re-entered into the safety of his own body while Tsunade, seeing him jolt upright, waited for his report. How bad is it? Said Tsunade, seeing the man sweating heavily, and looked at her with fear-struck eyes. Worse than you know. He knows you would send Jiraiya-sama after him and intends to destroy the Toad Sannin for his past sins, said Inoichi, finding his mind was now being tormented by the glowing red eyes he saw in Hitaki's mind. What questions did the demon ask Kakashi? Said Tsunade, wondering what the beast would want with Hitaki at all aside from hurting him. There were no questions, Hokage-sama. Naruto ripped him apart just for the hell of it, said Inoichi, not realizing he spoke Naruto's name in front of Tsunade only to find her hand on his throat and slamming his form into a nearby wall. Never call that demon by Naruto's name in my presence again. Do you understand me? yelled Tsunade, her fury clear in her eyes, and Inoichi thought she was going to kill him. Why you don't you understand Hokage-sama? It was Naruto. I'm telling you the truth. I swear it, said Inoichi, trying to breathe, but was finding his efforts futile. You lie, said Tsunade, her eyes were flashing dangerously at him. I wish I was. He's gearing up to slaughter everyone around him. He doesn't care about you, Konoha, or any other place in the elemental countries. He just wants to see things die at his feet, said Inoichi, hoping the woman would relent from crushing his windpipe. He actually began to fear for her life when she squeezed his throat tighter for a good 5 seconds, but soon she relaxed, and let go of him before falling into a nearby chair. Did Kakashi really deserve his injuries? Said Tsunade, looking at Inoichi, rubbing his throat to ease the pain. If you saw what I did, Hokage-sama, you would stop giving him painkillers, and simply kill him yourself, said Inoichi, getting off the ground, though he wobbled a bit before he was able to steady himself. I'll take your word for it, said Tsunade, her voice sounding almost broken by the time she finished her sentence. The 2 councils, plus the clan heads, will want to have a meeting concerning this matter, Hokage-sama. Though not many of them are still alive after what happened a few weeks ago, said Inoichi, as such a meeting had yet to take place, and with all that had happened with rumors flying around of Naruto's rebirth as a demon, it was difficult to get any level-headed members speaking in such a meeting. Those arrogant fools are the reason why the Yondaime's dying wish wasn't honored in the first place, said Tsunade, though she had to bite her tongue after that, since she had been such a fool herself for not coming back to Konoha to save Kushina when she needed her, and all for a simple bit of money. You wretched old drunken whore! Screamed the echoing voice within her mind of Naruto's demonic-filled words that pierced right into her soul. Hokage-sama, Hokage-sama, are you all right? You just spaced out for a second, said Inoichi, seeing the woman look like she was replaying a memory in her head. Yes, I'm fine. Go tell the councils and clan heads we'll be meeting later today. It's long overdue as it is, said Tsunade, hoping things didn't get out of hand. Those that hated Naruto did not feel they needed to be humbled by anyone unless it was the Fire Daimyo, and even then they just upped to him when he came to visit. Somewhere near Grass Country. He's almost here, said Yugito to Naruto, who nodded, having sensed Jiraiya coming at him, having summoned Gamakichi after so many years, and told him to tell the super pervert where to find him. Please be careful, Naruto-sama. Jiraiya-sama is a master of seals and will try to use his knowledge against you along with all the jutsus he posses in his arsenal, said Kimimaro, having pledged his new loyalty to Naruto after Yugito resurrected him, Naruto using his powers to restore Kimimaro's body what it should have been. The Ukokage even gave him a built-in body immunity to the very same lung disease, which had crippled him in the beginning, only now the immunity to it would be passed down to the albino's descendants, and thus ensure Kagaya clan's legacy lived on. I'm well aware of such things, Kimimaro. That is why I have you two here for support. Keep your eyes and ears open for anything. Understand? Said Naruto, putting on his mask and got ready to move into the clearing. Yes, Ukokage-sama, said the two of them, as they scattered in different directions. Naruto smiled underneath his mask. Oh, how he wished for teammates like them when he was in Konoha, and he was loved like the damned Uchiha was even now. No doubt there was more than one council member who wished to have the last Uchiha stay at their residence and make small talk with the brooding little bitch. It was a good thing he raided the Uchiha clan's long list jutsu scrolls they had and the secrets behind the Sharingan that they didn't want anyone to know about. But the time for reminiscing on the destruction of a place the Tem had a personal spot in his heart for was over, as Jiraiya the Toad Sannin was now in the clearing looking at him, and Naruto couldn't help letting out a small chuckle at the man's serious expression. If only you had been this serious when it came to my training, Arrow Sennin. I could have gotten stronger back then to not have to sweat so much in brining Sasuke Tem back to Konoha, said Naruto, seeing Jiraiya frown at him further, and the former demon vessel wondered if the Sannin was actually going to attack first before asking questions later. I thought I told you years ago that you needed to do things on your own. Said Jiraiya, getting into his toad hermit fighting stance. Did you do the same training method with my father? Said Naruto with an edge in his voice, seeing the Sannin wince at that. So you know. You are Naruto under that mask, aren't you? Not the Kyuubi, said Jiraiya, as he was not asking a question, but making a statement, and Naruto responded by simply removing his mask with hood to reveal his facial form. The Kyuubi is no longer in me. After Kakashi hit me with that Chidori to my back, he left me to die a watery grave, and I would have died in such a manner had the Kyuubi not tried to make a last-ditch effort to break free, said Naruto, as he felt that the man needed to hear this before he died, and understand what it meant to be what he had become. Flashback 5 years ago, Valley of the End. His body began sinking into the water, his eyes closing and opening faster like he wanted to fall to sleep, and his lungs were filling up with water. As this happened, Kyuubi was seeing the boy's mindscape starting to collapse, and the demon lord knew that soon his time would be up unless he did something fast. I will not be silenced so easily by being killed while sealed away in a mortal child, said Kyuubi before taking all of his chakra and slamming it against the bars of his prison, hoping for his chance at being free. Sure enough, the gate began to strain and melt under that demon's power before the paper holding it with the word seal in big letters burned off, making the cage doors to break open. Kyuubi reveled in his newfound freedom after being contained in this weak body for over a decade and was ready to return to that miserable shinobi village to get revenge. He was so overjoyed at the thought of causing mayhem upon the world that he didn't even notice his vessel's mindscape form staring at him with serious eyes when walking out of the cage. Where do you think you're going? Said Naruto in a no-nonsense voice, gaining the Kyuubi's attention. Out of the way, you mortal speck. I have no time to be here any longer, as you are about to die, and I am about to be free again. Do not worry though, as I have every intention of attack your precious leaf village again, and this time I intend to be the winner, said Kyuubi, his mouth sporting an evil grin with bloodlust in his eyes. I can't let you do that, said Naruto calmly, seeing the lighting in the room flickering every few minutes. Oh, and why not? Said Kyuubi mockingly, as if he dared Naruto to fight back, and try to actually win against the demon lord. Because that privilege is for me to have. Not you, said Naruto, his face a deep scowl and his voice gave no room for arguing. Foolish little ape rat, what makes you think you can stop me from leaving here? Said Kyuubi, ready to kill his vessel and leave the body for freedom. It's simple really. I can stop you through my mind, said Naruto as blue chains appeared from within the walls of his mindscape wrapping around Kyuubi, holding him in place while pipes came out shortly afterwards, piercing Kyuubi's body. This is not possible. How can you do this to me? Said Kyuubi, having never felt fear like this before and wondered how the youth in front of him could even do this. Like I said, it's my mind, hence my rules. The chains are just to hold you down while the pipes stuck in you are connected to my chakra network to extract your chakra. In short, I'm going to absorb you fully, and become the new demon lord among the 9 to take your place, said Naruto, seeing Kyuubi's eyes widen at this since he never expected his vessel to do anything like this. You can't handle all of my power and the knowledge I possess in my mind. You will explode, said Kyuubi, knowing that even this boy had limits and he was in no condition to handle such demonic power. Not unless I spread it around my body evenly. The problem with the chakra network of a human being is that it's so complex that it basically limits human beings in a sense. But not a demon lord's body, since a demon lord's body is made of pure demonic chakra without the need for chakra coils. What I intend to do is rework my chakra system from here, and when I'm done absorbing you, I'll be reborn in a sense, being the new Kyuubi among the 9, said Naruto, seeing the Kyuubi snarl at him and tried to escape only for the chains to tighten with the pipes digging into his body further. However, all actions proved to be no use, and the Kyuubi knew now that it was going to die, but at least his legacy would live on in the vessel he had been trapped in. There is something you should know before I die, said Kyuubi, deciding he might as well help his vessel in some manner concerning Akatsuki. What exactly? Said Naruto, seeing the demon lord look at him with a serious look and not a playing one. Beware of Uchiha Madara. He is the founder of the clan, but couldn't share power with others, and was defeated in battle against the Shadaime. He summoned me to destroy Konoha and the reason behind your misery with the leaf. If there is but one person in this world you must kill, it is him, and those bastard descendants of his, said Kyuubi, knowing that the world didn't need more than one Uchiha Madara in the world. When I'm old enough I'll deal with him, but for now, I'm going to do my own thing, and deal with my enemies my own way, said Naruto, feeling the process had already begun and he was feeling different. Very well. I leave my power in your very capable hands, my vessel. Do me one favor though, if you never do anything else. Kill them all and make them suffer, said Kyuubi, feeling his very being now splitting in various directions, and soon the chains fell with the pipes only touching air. Naruto merely nodded at the space where Kyuubi had been. End flashback. But why attack Konoha? Konoha is your home, said Jiraiya, seeing the boy his head to the right, as if thinking about it, and turned it back to normal. Interesting question. Let me ask it with one of my own. Why were you never there for me when I needed you? Godfather. said Naruto, seeing the man pale at that since he did not expect Naruto to find out about that. How do you know about that? Said Jiraiya, now seeing red demonic chakra in the form of lighting dance around the young man's cloaked body. My mother's diary. She wrote in it every day up until the final moments of her death, giving birth to me. It told me everything I needed to know. Especially about the part where you were supposed to take care of me. Said Naruto, his flooding the clearing with a haze of demonic red chakra, making Jiraiya take a step back. I couldn't. After Minato died, the councils forbid me, and sent me off on missions to gather information on the other villages. Said Jiraiya, shielding his eyes from the wave of power Naruto was putting out. Liar. My mother heard you one night while you were talking to the Sandaime about you being appointed to being my godfather. You declined it, stating you would rather do your research than spend a single measly second with your godson unless it got you more research material for your stupid books. You chose your perverseness over your own student's son just to peep on women in the hot springs. The Sandaime was right to consider you a loser, Ero Sennin. Even Orochimaru would have made a better godfather than you, said Naruto, knowing that was probably low, but the man had deserved it for neglecting his godson. Jiraiya had become livid now, as he had been insulted big time by his former student that he had only begun training before his apparent death. I'm going to make you wish you never said that, said Jiraiya with the fullest intent on destroying Naruto, seeing the boy's mind had become corrupted by dead demon's power. And I'm going to make you wish you had never abandoned me when I was a child, like I was worthless, and make you beg me for forgiveness before I kill you, said Naruto, his clawed hands flexing, and he watched Jiraiya carefully, knowing the man was a Sannin for a reason. And so it began. 5 years ago, when Konoha learned of Naruto's death at the hands of Uchiha Sasuke, which helped stall the barely unconscious Uchiha prodigy from escaping long enough for Kakashi to grab him, the people were more than thrilled, and held a village-wide party. They got their Uchiha back and the demon boy was dead, making the missions a double whammy for those that wanted such results to happen. Had anyone gone back to the Valley of the End, they would have discovered that the boy they thought was dead was in fact very much alive. The sky above him became a very crimson red, with lightning striking the water in the valley at a certain point and staying consistent. Had there been anyone to witness this strange phenomenal event, they would have seen a bloody hand rise from the water, and with the red lightning entering into the outstretched appendage before the hand clenched into a fist. Slowly rising from the depths of the valley water while looking like he had survived the 9th level of hell, Naruto let out long sagging breaths, and looked around at the place that just recently been a battlefield before heading into the forest region. Grabbing what was left of his shredded orange coat, Naruto tore it off, leaving only his slightly better black t-shirt, and headed towards the Fire Country border. One day, I will burn Konoha to the ground, and make them beg for the mercy I will not show them. I will cast everything they hold dear at their feet. It will be like killing their very children, and I will continue to do so until they see that their hands are stained in the blood of innocence, thought Naruto, finding that he had run into a campsite filled with countless bandits having a party with several women held against their will, being tied up and blindfolded. I can't wait to have a go at those women we caught. They'll make good slaves that we can sell to any brothel we want once we properly break them in, said one bandit with an eye patch over his eye and giving the scared women looks of perverse intentions. Who gets who though? There are more of us than there are of them, and I want to have my share with them tonight since I helped catch the bitches, said another bandit with several scars on his face while flipping a knife back and forth in his hands. I get them all first. I break them in, then you guys can have them before they come back to me, said the man, who was clearly the leader of these bandits, as he was the biggest guy around, and had a large gut on him, making him the fattest too. You heard the boss, said another bandit, who took a drink of sake, before getting up to go to the bathroom, and take a piss. He was heading in Naruto's direction, but Naruto didn't care, as he was so angry right now that he didn't care if they saw him or not, and quite frankly it didn't matter. The drunkard died before he even realized Naruto was less than an inch from him in a very bloody mess. After Naruto killed the bandit, he walked right into the camp, not caring he had the blood of their comrade all over him, and right in that instant they saw his blood-covered form, he struck. The various women that were tied up heard screams of pain and death near them while they themselves were maneuvering in the direction that was away from the screams. They whimpered, shivered, and let out whispery words of mercy to the person or thing that was the source of the bandit army's demise. When the screams from the bandits finally died, the women felt their hands being freed, but they dared not move out of fear of what lay beyond their blindfolds, and only heard the mysterious person's breathing. You are all safe, but do not tell anyone who saved you, as I must stay hidden, and want you to return to whatever families you have left. Understand? Said Naruto in his demonic voice, making the still blindfolded women nod quickly. An hour later, when they removed their blindfolds, they found the bandit camp removed all, but a few pieces of tent fabric, and pieces of what looked like clothes. Hokage Tower. Tsunade was crying, as she held onto the damn necklace that killed so many people she cared about, and wished she could just destroy this jewel in her hand. However, every time she tried, her hand refused to squeeze with the necessary power behind it to turn the damn thing into powder, and it made things even worse. Of all the people that necklace would kill, I never thought it would be Naruto, said Jiraiya, sitting in a chair in front of her before looking outside to see the party going on with people happy the Uchiha was back and that Naruto was dead. It doesn't matter. Now I have no reason to be Hokage. I should just get the hell out of here and never return, said Tsunade, as the idea was starting to sound really good to her right now, and the more she thought about it, the more her body began to respond by making her stand up to leave. Oh no, you don't. You can't go now, Tsunade. If you do, then things will get even worse in Konoha, and not even my advice can stay those idiots on the council. If you step now, the council will nominate Danzo to take over, and he'll destroy everything about this village your grandfather built, said Jiraiya, seeing the look she had years ago in wanting to run away. I can't even give Naruto a proper funeral here. The council decided that Naruto should have his existence suspended, upon further investigation, and his status to be decided when they feel like it, said Tsunade, knowing that Naruto's status would never be determined, thus he would never get the funeral he rightfully deserved. The people in Wave Country are going to be so upset. If it wasn't for the fact we are in a binding contract with them right now, I imagine they would pull all trading from here, said Jiraiya, knowing that the people there adored Naruto like he was their favorite son. The Cage didn't look too happy either. He told me the alliance with Konoha is now over and can expect no form of mercy should any Konoha shinobi enter Suna. The fury in his eyes makes me shiver even now, and I can barely imagine what is going on inside the young boy's head, said Tsunade, seeing the look of bloodlust in Gaara's eyes at the people loving the news of Naruto's death rather than mourning it. The other rookies that weren't on the mission were devastated by the news, and I can only imagine how the others will react to it as well. Sakura doesn't seem to care though, since she's just glad the Uchiha's back, not even shedding a tear for Naruto, said Jiraiya, knowing that girl had some serious issues and that she needed a good kicking to get her head on straight. I was going to consider making her my apprentice given her chakra control, but I have decided against it, said Tsunade, since training fangirls was not something she wanted to do. The council will try to make you, said Jiraiya, knowing that they would use their all-knowing authority on her. Then they can simply go to hell. I will decide who I train. Not them. I will still have that much control in my life, said Tsunade, looking at Jiraiya darkly before her eyes turned to that of sadness once more. Elsewhere, -1 week later. It was nighttime when Naruto entered the village that was just beyond the Fire Country border into Lightning Country, finding the place to be very low-key, which was good for someone like him. The instant he entered, Naruto made himself scarce to the wondering nightlife by ducking into a nearby alley, and made his way around hoping to find some kind of shinobi store that sold various items reserved for shinobi. Naruto of course could be one anymore, or even a missing nin, since he was no doubt declared dead if Kakashi gave his version of events to the people in Konoha. Following his instincts, Naruto found what he was looking for, as it was an old-fashioned shinobi store that had been closed for the night, and was filled with shinobi-style gear. From the looks of things, it was a family-owned place like that bun-haired girl had back in Konoha, and it became clear the easiest way in was through the second-floor window. After Naruto snuck into the home shop, he made his way down the steps to the variety of shinobi gear before him, and took everything he needed. Standard shinobi weapons, dark Anbu clothes with vest, combat boots, black cloak, and a plain white mask. Anbu had the privilege of painting into whatever animal they wanted. Naruto for his part felt it was pointless for him to paint it at all, as he would be just like this mask was, and use it in a means to strike fear into the heart of everyone around him. He would be blank, an enigma, an unknown, a shinobi, who had no allegiances, as well as had no loyalty except himself, and if he happened to recruit people to his cause, then he would make them his tools. With his gear in place, Naruto got ready to head out the door, but before he could, the boy spotted something of interest on the wall, and made him stop. It was a sword that was an interesting design for him, since it was a rare kind of blade with a long hunting knife as its partner right next to it. Taking said weapons off the shelf, the blonde boy made his way out the door, and began walking out of the village to his next destination, that was Wave. He needed a place to gather his thoughts, and Wave Country was the best place to go since he had to visit some old friends of his there that he needed to speak to. Suna, are you sure this is wise, Gaara? I mean, we really can't afford to be Konoha's enemies after what happened. The Wind Daimyo won't stand for it a second time, said Kankuro, having worked really hard on getting a new peace treaty signed. You don't understand, Kankuro, because you are not like me or Uzumaki-san. You were never hated by others, attacked by others, and denied love by others simply because of the stupidity of such people. Those ungrateful people in Konoha celebrated Naruto's death when they learned of it. Celebrated. If I could, I would have crushed them all with my sand and fed their blood to Shukaku to offer up as my own personal tribute to Uzumaki Naruto, I would have. Said Gaara, sitting at his desk while manipulating the sand with one eye to read the paperwork and sign it while staring at his brother with ghoulish eyes. Eyes that Kankuro realized were almost like before Naruto entered Gaara's life. The not too friendly kind. I'll begin writing a letter to the Wind Daimyo explaining your actions, Gaara. I just pray he understands your reasoning behind it, said Kankuro before he left to handle writing up some incredible letter for his brother to read before approving it. What do you think, Temari? Said Gaara, seeing his sister beside him now with a mixed expression on her face. It's not my place to question you, Gaara. Whatever you do, as the cage of Suna, I will trust in you, and believe you are doing the right thing, said Temari, knowing that while Gaara's eyes may have become cold again, they always seemed to stay warm with her or Kankuro around to ease his pain, and prayed to Kami that Gaara kept his sanity to the end of his days. Wave Country. 4 days later. Naruto walked along the bridge named after him by the people of Wave Country and let a rare smile cover his face even though it was hidden by the mask he wore. With each new passing day, Naruto felt his body grow with the clothes he wore expanding with him, as that had been the specific model he took that was modeled after shinobi with bloodlines that made their body expand in different ways like the Akamichi did. Upon guessing his height after looking at it recently 2 days ago at a nearby lake, the former Konoha shinobi would guess he was as tall as Shino now, if not slightly taller. After crossing the bridge, Naruto headed for the one place he needed to head to in order to set out his plan of vengeance, and clean himself of whatever ties he had left to Konoha. It was the one place alone that could set him free upon the envisioned path he wanted and give himself a solid state of mind in this whole affair. He headed for Zabuza and Haku's grave. He approached the two graves glad to see they hadn't been defiled or ransacked by some stupid drunk or moron trying to make a name for himself in claiming the demon of the mist's death. The graves looked untouched, as if the two had just been buried days ago rather than months, and it silently ate at him that he couldn't save either of them from death's door. Removing his sword and knife, Naruto got on his knees before the grave, and placed his two weapons on the ground at his side. Slowly, he removed his mask, and dropped his hood, revealing the blood-red hair that up until now no one had seen and lived to tell the tale. Hey Zabuza. Hi Haku. How's everything going? Bad question. Sorry about that. Listen you guys, my visit isn't exactly what you call scheduled, so I can't stay long, but I need to confess some things to you that you need to hear. Zabuza, I think I understand why you betrayed the Mizukage when it came to trying to take over. It's made me respect you even more. You were serving a master that you could not stand for whatever reason it was that made you try to kill him, and during that time you struggled to get the strength needed to fight him. You did what you had to do and I respect that. Haku, I'm sorry for failing your philosophy in being truly strong when protecting someone we consider to be precious to us. Even though we just met, I know we could have been good friends if you had lived after what happened on the bridge, and I hope you can forgive me in not saving you when you needed me the most. I've tried taking your words to heart, using them as my own nindo to honor your beliefs, but no matter how hard I try I find it's impossible, since all those I consider precious to me don't return such affection. I've come to a realization about the elemental countries, Haku, that you're not going to like when I tell it to you, said Naruto before hearing a twig snap behind him and putting his mask on, turned to see it was Inari of all people looking at him in shock. Big brother, said Inari, seeing Naruto with awe at what the young shinobi had turned into. Hi Inari. Come join me. You need to hear this too, said Naruto, taking off his mask since there was no point in hiding it anymore around the boy. We thought you were dead, but you look different, said Inari, walking up to Naruto and sitting beside him. I went through a lot of changes that were caused by my apparent death at the hands of my own sensei. That was what I wanted to talk to these two about, so listen and don't interrupt me, okay? Said Naruto, seeing the boy nod his head vigorously. His sensei betrayed him. That's not the story that came out of the leaf. What's going on? Thought Inari, but his thoughts were interrupted by Naruto speaking again to the two grave markers. Ever since the people have become arrogant in Konoha, it has begun spreading outward to the other villages like a cancer, and slowly killing the very things each village stood for. It is because of this, along with my own sensei betraying me, that I will have to do some horrible things that one day, even I may regret doing, but before then I must do this, and I will carry out my objective. I'm going to kill them. I'm going to be the one to kill them. If anyone is going to kill the hidden shinobi villages of the elemental countries, it's going to be me. I'm going to kill what I once held dear in my heart. Said Naruto, his yelling before letting out an insane laugh before he felt Inari grab a hold of him, as if to be his anchor, and pull him from the insanity that was plaguing his mind. Big brother, thought Inari, as tears ran down his eyes seeing the older boy looking down at him before stroking the innocent kid's hair while letting out a gentle chuckle. I'm going to kill them all by injecting each of them with a lethal dose of poison. Said Naruto, grinning at the thought, and held Inari closer to his form. How much pain did they actually put Big Brother through? Thought Inari, seeing the fury in Naruto's now red eyes, and wondered how his hair got changed to such a red color. A poison that is simply vulpine. Said Naruto before he closed his eyes and reopened them again to gaze down at Inari. You're going to do a lot of horrible things, aren't you? Said Inari, knowing the answer already, but needed to hear it first from Naruto. Only upon the wicked people of the elemental countries, Inari. The innocent shall be spared my wrath, while the wicked will fall before it, said Naruto, knowing that Inari was a bit conflicted with what was going on since the kid was still so young. You're going to have to turn yourself into a monster, said Inari, as it was more of a statement of fact than an actual question. Sometimes, Inari, the only way to take down a monster is to become an even bigger monster. Someday, when you are an older and much wiser boy, I trust that you will understand what I'm talking about, said Naruto, looking at the boy with kind eyes, or what would pass for kind eyes with his demonic red ones. I missed you, said Inari, having heard the news of Naruto's death and had cried so hard for his fallen adopted brother. But he was here now, if only for a little while. You are one of the few that do, Inari. Let's go pay your family a quick visit, said Naruto, knowing the other two would be proud to have him around if only for a few hours. Sound Village 3 months later. Orochimaru-sama, I bring word of our contact in Konoha, and he tells me in another month there will be an open window for us to strike at Konoha long enough to retrieve Uchiha Sasuke once more, said Kabuto, having gotten his information delivered to him by a trusted Fuma clan member, who got it from a root Anbu from Konoha, and finally from the source that was Danzo. Excellent. Take 200 shinobi all Junin level to Konoha to retrieve Sasuke-kun. You will lead this mission, Kabuto, so I expect the results of your mission to be that of a successful retrieval. Should you fail, said Orochimaru, letting the threat hang out in the air for the medic nin to shiver at the potential pain that would be delivered onto him should he fail. I will see to it that the retrieval is a success, Orochimaru-sama, said Kabuto before he left his master's presence to deal with this mission. The Kyuubi vessel may have delayed my time in having Sasuke within my grasp, but in the end, I will be the one to have the last Uchiha in my grasp, and when I do I will finally be able to take the next step in knowing all the jutsus in the world, said Orochimaru as an evil smile covered his mouth before letting out a cruel laughter. Rice country border. Were you followed? Said the masked black cloaked figure towards the member of the Fuma clan, who bowed before her master, and shook her head to indicate she was not. No, master. My family made sure I went through the proper route to get to you, but I made sure just in case, and have the information you requested, said the young female Fuma clan member, who wore a mask over her face. Good. What do you have to report? Said the masked figure, looking down at the young girl he saved not that long ago and defeating the leader of her clan to gain their allegiance to him. Orochimaru is sending Kabuto along with 200 Junin level shinobi to Konoha in the belief that there will be a window of opportunity to retrieve the Uchiha from the leaf, said the girl, wondering if she should look up at her master to see if he would make any physical response. So the ruse worked. Excellent. You have pleased me well, Sasama, and as a show of good faith on my part of the deal, your clan shall leave Orochimaru's service officially to head after I cripple the hubby for an undetermined amount of time. Once you leave, I want you to head to Wave Country seeking refugee status there until your clan can be re-established in it. It's high time that the Fuma clan had a chance to breathe clean air in order to grow in greener pastures. Tell you clan head to stay the course with me, Sasama, and I promise to give them a chance to grow strong under a much healthier environment than the one here in Rice Country, said the masked figure, knowing that the Fuma clan had suffered under the Sannin in using them for his twisted experiments. Thank you, master. I will do so at once, said Sasama, as she had seen a sample of the mysterious stranger's power after he killed several masked sound shinobi chasing her, and while heading back she knew better than to doubt this entity she served. He fought like a demon in her eyes, and facing such a demon upon betraying him would not be wise. Soon, Orochimaru, I will take away something that even you hold of value, and I will not stop until I see you eventually laying broken at my feet begging for your own death, said the masked figure before he headed to the route that was planned out in his mind that he knew would be the keen place to strike this army led by Kabuto. The world could use more blood raining down upon it anyway. 1 month later, nightfall. Kabuto and his small army rushed through the forest area to Konoha, intent on exploiting the window of opportunity that was before them down to the second. Orochimaru had made it clear that failure to retrieve Sasuke with so many shinobi with so many things in this mission going in their favor was inexcusable, and if they failed would result in severe consequences involving lots of pain. Head for the Uchiha estates immediately. Do not screw around or interact with anyone in Konoha. Our objective is to get Sasuke out of Konoha to Rice Country and into the hands of Orochimaru-sama. Understand, said Kabuto to his second-in-command, who nodded, having witnessed what the Sannin was capable of, and did not wish to be on the receiving end of it. Suddenly, amongst the group, screams were heard of pain, making Kabuto look back to see what was happening behind him, and to his horror saw his team being destroyed. The man saw blood was everywhere, his army was being reduced to nothing, as the attacker had begun to slash, stab, behead, and maimed in various ways the medic Nin didn't know was even possible. All Kabuto could do was stay frozen in fear, as his army was reduced down to him alone after the figure viciously slit his second-in-command's throat, and the result creating a fountain of blood to exit, making it rain upon the man's murderer. It's been quite a while, hasn't it, Kabuto? Still being Orochimaru's toy, I see. Let me guess, he sent you to retrieve the Uchiha. I still can't believe he actually bought the info that was given to him, said the masked figure, walking towards Kabuto, who steeled his resolve, and drew 2 kunai into his hands while the figure put his blades away. You seem quite familiar with me and Orochimaru-sama, but I don't know you. Why don't you honor me by telling me your name? Said Kabuto, hoping to get some kind of info to Orochimaru about this person to make up for this mission's failure. Sorry to disappoint you, Kabuto, but I don't give my name to the dead, said the figure in a quiet voice while he walked with an unnatural grace that made Kabuto unnerved to say the least. I'm not dead yet, said Kabuto, moving quickly to attack the figure, who caught the right hand that swung out at him, followed by the left, and then proceeded to break them off the arm at the wrist. You soon will be. Rest assured, Kabuto, you soon will be, said the figure, now seeing Kabuto fall to the ground, letting out screams of pain, as his healing powers could not regenerate his lost hands, and was now useless to his master if he were to return. Please spare me. I am harmless now. I am no threat to you or anyone you care about, said Kabuto, hoping this man had some form of belief in showing mercy to another. Really? I seem to recall you telling me that I wasn't cut out to be a shinobi at all in this world, Kabuto. Judging by the way your people were obliterated from the world, I would have to say that your assumptions of me when Ero Sennin went to retrieve the old hag were very much wrong, said the masked figure, drawing his sword again, seeing the revelation in Kabuto's eyes at who he was speaking to. You. But it can't be you. Our spies told me you died, said Kabuto, having heard the information immediately and had told Orochimaru about it, who was quite pleased with such news, and said it made up for the loss of getting the Uchiha in his hands. Your information was inaccurate. I did not die. I was simply reborn, said the masked figure before slicing off Kabuto diagonally in half. Walking up to the upper body of the now deceased Sound Nin, the figure sliced the head from the neck before pulling out a sealed scroll revealing a wooden box, and placed the dead man's head in it. Putting the box away in the scroll, the figure pulled out a demonic exploding tag, ignited it, and threw it into the middle of the bodies, or rather the remains of bodies, before disappearing into the night, leaving only the echo of an explosion to let people know that he was alive. His next destination, Kumo, Hokage Tower. -3 days later. Tsunade was not having a good day. For one, the council was demanding that she train Sakura to be her apprentice as the next Sannin, and have Jiraiya train Sasuke to be the other, to keep the Uchiha away from Orochimaru. She had declined both demands, telling them that Jiraiya would never train another apprentice after what happened the last time, and Sakura would never take to training since she was still a fangirl more obsessed with the Uchiha than working on keeping her skills sharp. To make matters worse was that an army of sound ninjas' remains were found not far from the walls of Konoha, looking like they had been butchered without mercy. No one was taking credit for it, no one so much as spoke of it outside of Konoha, and what was confusing her more was Kabuto being the one person amongst the dead sound ninjas had his head missing. "Anything from your spy network, Jiraiya?" said Tsunade, looking at her old teammate, who was looking quite serious at this point since the death of Naruto had taken some of the humor he always had with him. Aside that, Orochimaru is pissed off beyond belief. No. Apparently, the Fuma clan was the one that backstabbed Orochimaru in this ploy by some outside force, and in return for betraying him they were able to leave Rice Country for greener pastures. "Though where they are headed I don't know yet, since they could go anywhere at this point," said Jiraiya, as the Fuma clan had left in a hurry, taking everything except the clan house with them, and moved non-stop to their new destination. "Would it be possible to get them to come here?" said Tsunade, knowing that such a clan would be able to create an influx of needed strength into Konoha. "I tried that already. I sent a contact to meet with the clan head, but he hit a snag with someone that guy works for, and well, let's just say that person said no," said Jiraiya, as he didn't want to explain to her that his contact was sent back to him without limbs, and his chest having the words, "no," carved into his flesh. Like that would bring a heartwarming feeling to her insides. Damn. So the Fuma clan is under the protection of someone skilled. He must be Sannin level to do what he did without breaking a sweat, and killing Kabuto so easily tells me that even Orochimaru will think twice in fighting person. Yeah, I'm going to continue digging around, but I doubt it's anyone significant that could threaten our old teammate, and what's more is I even doubt he's on Akatsuki's radar for potential recruitment, said Jiraiya before he left via window, much to the Hokage's own protest. KUMO 2 years later. A cloaked figure sat at a local shop drinking tea at his table. Seeing the place around him was just like Konoha had been, with children playing, people talking with smiles on their faces, and a sense of security any shinobi village worth its kunai would fight to produce. "Get the demon," yelled someone with the sounds of cheers with the voice. It also had the same arrogance too. The figure put on his mask before he turned his head to see a young woman, who was a Kumo shinobi, and just a few years older than himself, running for her life against a mob formed in order to attack her. The figure of course frowned at this, since this female ninja should be able to hold off her attackers easily with her skills, but noticed that several of Kumo's shinobi were attacking as well, and they seemed to be making hand signs that were forcing the woman to collapse onto her knees in pain. "I see. So they had some kind of enslavement-based seal onto her body to make sure she couldn't run away. Interesting. It seems the Nibi vessel is no better off than I was. Well, I think it's about time I introduced myself," thought the figure, standing from his seat and paying the bill for the meal he had just eaten before walking over to the mob that now surrounded the poor demon vessel. "Now demon, we're going to show you what it means to know your place in the world at our feet, and see to it you always obey your raikage," said Akumo Anbu, who made another hand sign forcing the woman to scream out in pain, and tried to struggle for her survival. The Kumo Anbu was soon interrupted in his tortuous pleasure when he felt a pain in his body, and upon looking down saw a clawed hand exiting it, with the beginning being in his back along the center of the spine. The instant the arm was removed, the figure fell in a heap of his own blood, and the mob's attention was now directed at the slayer of the Kumo Anbu. "Have you no shame? You treat this woman like she was a demon when you yourselves are guiltier than sin itself," said the figure, kneeling down to the Nibi vessel, seeing her shake a little in his presence, but stopped when he stroked her cheek, whispering to her that it would be all right, and for some reason the woman knew she could believe him. "Demon lover. You are in league with the demons of the world to destroy us. You're a traitor to your own species," said someone in the mob, causing the others to yell out other things that made them feel bold again, only to be silenced by the dark laughter they heard come from this enigma before them. "Fools. Who said I was human?" said the figure before unleashing his killer intent upon the mob that made the mob freeze in horror, as they saw red demonic chakra erupt from the figure's body, and before they could run they found themselves be slashed to pieces at superhuman speed. The mob of people, no less than 30, soon exploded in a sea of blood that rained down upon the figure, who didn't even mind the crimson downpour he had created, and now turned his attention to the barely conscious demon vessel of the Nibi. The woman shivered now, as the figure covered in blood walked over to her, and began to pick her up. She tried to struggle with what strength she had, but it proved useless to her, as all she could do was stay in his surprising comfortable arms. She was unconscious shortly after he left the area. Raikage Tower -3 days later. "What do you mean you can't find her?" said the Raikage, looking livid at the Anbu before him, shaking like a frightened rabbit. We looked everywhere, Reikage-sama, but she is nowhere to be found. Her seal we used to keep her in line is no longer giving off a signal to where she is, and there we can't seem to locate the individual that was responsible for the destruction that saved Yugito from her beating. I think someone removed that part of her seal, said the Anbu, who could see that his cage was infuriated by this, and that someone's head was soon going to roll. You think? That part of her seal was also her limiter seal in order to keep Yugito from reaching her true potential with her demon. If someone has removed it, she'll be able to handle all the power of her demon, and come back here to kill me for all those years I let the people of this village hurt her, said the Reikage, who was secretly sweating bullets, and wondered how he was going to defeat his once prized weapon. We will double our effort, Reikage-sama, said the Anbu before leaving to find his tracker team to hunt down the Nibi vessel once more. My weapon will not betray me. I will see to it such betrayals are met with my unmerciful wrath that will make her beg to be my loyal weapon once more, thought the Reikage, as he took out some sake, and began to drink heavily from the bottle. Unknown location. Yugito awoke with a start, finding she was only in her underwear in a bed that was not her own, and for a moment she feared she had been raped. Fortunately, the Nibi had told her that was not the case, as the demon inside of her had been awake the whole time, making sure that she was not touched inappropriately. The blonde-haired woman looked at the bed she was in one more time, finding it was very soft against her skin and that it was huge enough to fit several people on it at once. Looking around the dark room, Yugito spotted some clothes on a chair next to a desk, and would have gotten up to grab them had the door to her room opened. Instantly, she covered herself while pretending to be asleep, and if need be she would try to attack him when his guard was down. The figure walked towards her bed carrying a tray of food and put it down on the nightstand next to the large bed before turning to face the sleeping figure before him. You can stop faking now, Yugito-san. I'm perfectly aware of you being awake right now since your chakra signature combined with the Nibi inside of you increased upon you awakening, said the figure, waiting for her reaction, which he sensed from another spike of chakra, and in an instant she moved to attack him. I will not be your slave or weapon like I was the Reikage, said Yugito, who if she had been paying attention would have remembered she was in her underwear, and tried to cover her figure rather than expose it during her attempt to hurt her rescuer. I never wanted you as my slave or personal weapon, Yugito-san. If I did, I would have made your limiter seal stronger rather than simply removing it, said the figure, grabbing one of her fist before grabbing the other and bringing her closer to his masked form. Yugito was so shocked by his words she didn't struggle against him being so close to him before. It took her a moment for the mind to sink in that she was in her underwear, and very close to a man. If his voice was anything to go by, that could do anything to her at a single moment. Letting out a squeak, Yugito managed to free herself from the man's grip, and ran back to the covers to hide her figure while glaring at the man like it was his fault things happened this way. Pervert, said Yugito, hissing like a cat at him with some of the Nibi chakra filtering out of her body, only to stop when she felt his crimson one flash, making her recede back into her own. If I were still human, then maybe I would be, but as you can tell from my pulse of chakra I released. I'm not. I saved you, Yugito, because you and I are similar, said the figure, walking over to a light switch and turning it on so she could see him perfectly. Yugito noticed he didn't have his cloak on, though since it was no doubt stained in blood of so many people trying to hurt her, it was probably in a washer, and would most likely be indisposed of for a while. She saw he had red hair, was wearing something close to Anbu-related clothes with the standard kunai pouch on his lower right leg, and a long hunting knife with jagged edges on one side with a flat surface on the other sheathed higher up. On his left side was a very dangerous-looking sword that looked flawless, but the scent of blood that she could smell from it told her it had killed its fair share of people, and the knife had almost an equalized amount too. At least he's ripped if his arms are any indication, thought Yugito, who fought down the blush that threatened to arise on her face, and looked over at the tray of food the man had brought in. The food isn't poisoned if that's what you think. As I said, I have no need to hurt you or put you through any more of the hell these arrogant humans have done, said the figure, walking over to another chair and sat down after grabbing the clothes meant for her. I don't suppose you would let a girl get dressed first before eating, would you? Said Yugito, who then heard her stomach growl, and she blushed in embarrassment at her own stomach betrayal while wondering if the Nibi had anything to do with it. The figure his head to the right in thought before throwing the clothes on the bed, but just out of arm's reach, meaning she would have to expose her body to reach for them, and the last thing Yugito wanted to do was give the guy a free show. She glared at him, but if he had any reaction to it, he didn't give it thanks to that mask of his, and after some more glaring she conceded to getting the clothes to put on under the bed sheets. Interesting. You chose clothing over the food, said the figure, making Yugito blush at that and even further when her stomach made another loud protest. Shut up, you pervert. I just felt my modesty had a higher priority over the needs of my stomach, said Yugito, having finished getting dressed and moved for the tray of food before eating it with a certain vicious way that was not manners of a female. She looked like a hungry, starving animal. A cat-like answer if I've ever heard one. Clearly the Nibby in you is far more influential now on your mind than she was before I removed the limiter seal, said the figure, letting out a sigh before getting up to leave the woman to have her privacy. Wait, why did you save me? Why did you defend me when no one else would? Why did you remove a part of the seal on me that would keep the Nibby inside at bay? Said Yugito, wondering what this person got out of saving her other than him seeking physical pleasure of her body, which she would not do, and would destroy him if he tried to force it. I already told you this, Yugito-san. You and I are similar to each other. For now, rest a little longer in your bed, then meet me downstairs for a good talk, and know that I mean you no harm, said the figure before walking out of the room and shutting the door. What do you think, Nibby? Should I trust him? Thought Yugito to her demon, who after so many years of abuse had been the woman's closest thing to a friend, and had helped her deal with the onslaught of so many beatings over the years. He is strong. I haven't felt that chakra in years. You should indeed trust him, my little kitten, for he could have destroyed you at any point in time. He once held the Kyuubi inside of him, said the Nibby, purring at all the memories she had of her with the Kyuubi doing things together. Or rather doing things to each other. Ew. To think you're more of a pervert than he is. And what do you mean he used to? Thought Yugito, since she could sense what Nibby was referring to when she was with the Kyuubi. Oh, you hush, kitten. It's not perverted if both partners like it. As to what I'm referring to, I mean that Kyuubi is no longer held within that man, but rather has absorbed my nine-tailed hunk, and has become just like him in his place. Did you see those muscled arms of his? If only I could be free so I could take my human form, I would rock that hard body of his until next, said Nibby, who was stopped by Yugito telling her to stop, as the fantasies were being projected into her head, and were not helping her either, that the Nibby was involving her into it too with him. Figures you would be this horny for the fox all this time, considering how long you were sealed up inside of me, thought Yugito, having decided to face this unknown person, who possessed the power of Nibby's former love interest, to see what he had to offer. Oh, it's more than that, my kitten. You are so young now to understand what it means to lay next to someone who can take you in such ways that it makes you shiver with excitement, and even though he is gone does not mean his true spirit does not live on in his vessel. Get to know him, my kitten. Trust me, as you always have, and I promise you that following him will lead you to a much better life, said Nibby, knowing that her vessel would listen to her about this since Yugito did in just about everything else. Nodding at her demon's words, Yugito finished her meal at a much slower pace before putting the tray down on the nightstand, and headed downstairs to speak to this enigma that was her potential savior. Raikage Tower 2 weeks later. You still can't find her? Said the Raikage, looking more infuriated than he had ever been in his life, and it was making the Anbu team in front him nervous to be in the room with him. No, Raikage-sama. We've been looking everywhere for her, but we still can't find her, and we are finding it hard to keep the people calm about this since almost everyone in Kumo has treated the Nibby vessel badly, said the Anbu captain, who saw the Raikage looking at him with lots of hatred, and if one looked carefully they would see fear in them too. Of course they should be panicking, you fool. She has no doubt recovered from her last attack and will seek to destroy us with the very power we gave her at birth to do as we saw fit, said the Raikage, who would have said more, but couldn't since the screams outside his office were erupting from behind his doors. His doors soon exploded towards his Anbu team with a trail of blood from those that had been screaming from in the halls. When the Raikage looked at where the doors had been, he saw Yugito standing there next to a cloaked, masked figure covered in the blood of his shinobi guards. You are the Raikage, correct? Said the masked figure, looking at the man while Yugito was in front of the nervous Anbu squad that had been trying to find her. So what if I am? Who the hell are you? What have you done to my weapon? Said the Raikage, sensing Yugito was generating several times her usual chakra output and she seemed to be more feral like a cat. She not your weapon anymore. I took the chains of bondage you had placed on her and broke them to give her freedom. It's humans like you that make the good ones lose favor with Kami. No matter. You are just the beginning in this village, as I intend to make all those that hurt Yugito from you down to the lowliest of villager pay for their sins, and I'm going to make sure your trip into hell is a memorable one. Said the figure before forming a crimson Rasengan in his right hand, making the Raikage back against the wall at seeing the technique. It's not possible. The Yondaime only taught that technique to one person, that was his sensei, and that man never took on an apprentice after that fool of a namikaze died, said the Raikage, trying to think of who the identity of this man was behind that masked namikaze. So that is my father's last name. Thank you for telling me that before I send you into the depths of hell, said the masked figure to the shocked Raikage, who saw the figure disappear before his eyes, and then reappear right in front of him, slamming the jutsu into his gut. The man screamed out, as the blood in his body came alive, exiting every pore on his body, his eye sockets, his ears, nose, mouth, and every other hole that existed on a human being. The blood stained the wall the Raikage had backed up against, along with the walls to the side of the two and the ceiling above, before the man exploded into 1,000 pieces, leaving only his head intact, landing on his desk. It was a gory sight to behold. Please don't kill us, Namikaze-sama. We were only following orders from the Raikage to hurt Yugito-san with the seal his predecessor placed on her years ago, said the Anbu captain, kneeling before the man, who had annihilated the Raikage, and was in truth the new Raikage in the process. If that is what you wish, then I won't kill you, said the man, walking towards the door, and stopped when heard the sigh of relief from the Anbu team. Such stupid humans, said Nibi, giggling like a little school girl in Yugito's head, while Yugito herself was fighting back her own smile at what Naruto just said. Yugito will be the one who will have all the pleasure of taking your lives at her leisure. Enjoy giving them their much-deserved pain, my dear, said the figure before walking out of the room, as he proceeded to find other arrogant fools to punish, and see to it they got what they deserved. I told you, my kitten, he's a keeper. Now let's show these humans what it means to mess with a female demon, said Nibi, purring in delight at the bloodlust she was going to feel in these frightened humans before her vessel. Screams of unspeakable pain were heard from the late Raikage's room for hours on end, and it was music to the masked namikaze's ears. Konoha 2 weeks later. Kumo has fallen. To who? Said Tsunade, seeing Jiraiya looking at her nervously since she was giving him the "I'm going to hurt you" look. I don't know, Tsunade Haim. No one knows. Most of the people there were slaughtered by someone that was wearing a black cloak with white mask. Those that saw him are just calling him the Ukokage since he single-handedly killed the Raikage. Some say this guy took the head of the Raikage and sent it someplace. This guy could be a mercenary of some kind that's been lying low until now for the right moment to take out some of the more influential people. Hell, even the Akatsuki are turning their eyes towards him to be a new member, since anyone can take down a village like he did deserves to be a member of their organization, said Jiraiya, who found out that shortly after Kumo fell that the Akatsuki organization wanted this guy to join up right away. Hokage-sama, Hokage-sama, come quick, said Shizune, running into the room looking pale like she had seen something horrifying. What is it, Shizune? Said Tsunade, getting up from her desk, seeing her student looking like she had seen a ghost. It's the Raikage's head. It's been dropped off right in front of Hyuga Neji's room at the Hyuga Compound Branch Member Complex, said Shizune, not knowing what that means for the village or for the Hyuga clan. What? Let's go, said Tsunade, rushing off to find out just what it meant for Konoha with the Raikage's head in the Hyuga compound. Elsewhere. Why do you want me to revive him, Naruto? I mean, he served Orochimaru with loyalty that went unquestioned since he was a little kid. Why bring someone like him back? Said Yugito, knowing that Nibi's powers could grant this person that Naruto wanted brought back to life with his own demonic powers to restore the resurrected person's body. Because we need him to pay for his sins in serving Orochimaru. He will serve us loyally without question, like he did the Sannin once we have resurrected him, said Naruto, as the two stared at the decaying remains of Kagaya Kimimaro, and wondered if the man would serve them loyally or fall back into loyal servitude of Orochimaru. Without further delay, Yugito called upon the Nibi's chakra to swirl around Kimimaro's body, and began to recall the man's soul back to his body, while Naruto used his demonic chakra to restore the albino's body to what it once was. It became clear that Kimimaro had returned when he screamed out in pain when he felt his soul reattached itself to his still being restored body, while now hovered in the air while new life was being breathed into him. Soon, Yugito recalled the Nibi chakra back to her while Naruto focused on the healing process that was vital to allow Kimimaro to live, and began focusing on his lungs that had been plagued by an old lung disease that needed to be cured permanently if the albino's loyalty was to be his. When he was finished, Naruto released his demonic chakra from Kimimaro, making the man fall to the ground gasping for air and let out silent screams of pain. The albino was moving around in pain like a worm on a fish hook before opening his eyes to see two figures looking down upon him. Who are you? said Kimimaro, wondering if he entered hell or had become reincarnated into another life, looking up at the masked man and blonde female. Who we are right now is irrelevant until we decide it is relevant. Right now you Kagaya Kimimaro belong to me, said Naruto, seeing the man look at him, and the albino began to shake his head. No. My loyalty is to Orochimaru-sama. I will always be loyal to him. He was the one who gave me purpose, gave me love, and, said Kimimaro, only to be interrupted by Naruto. He gave you a curse seal designed to bind you to him. It is not a mark of love or a mark of showing purpose, Kimimaro. It is a mark of a puppet, and Orochimaru is the puppeteer, who was pulling your string until they broke after you died from that fatal disease in your body that I cured. Yugito and I resurrected you, Kimimaro. She returned you to your body while I restored it to its intended perfection. Orochimaru has done nothing to remotely bring you back from the dead and has moved on to finding other loyal subordinates to call his own. You were a pawn to him. Nothing more, nothing less, said Naruto, seeing the albino become enraged by his words. You lie. He showed me love, devotion, and gave me a reason to fight, said Kimimaro, trying to summon his bloodline to his arm to strike out at this dishonorable man that dared speak out against his master. He showed you wanted to see Kimimaro. It is you who is the fool in not seeing that, but after so many years of loyalty to him, how can you not? I gave you new life, Kimimaro. Do I not deserve some of that fanatical loyalty of yours that you showed to the Sannin? Said Naruto, seeing the albino narrow his eyes at him and stopped trying to summon bones out of his body from his bloodline. He speaks the truth, Kimimaro-san. He removed the disease from your body and gave you a permanent cure to it, so it will never appear in your family ever again, said Yugito, having repeated the words Nibi said since the cat demon was sensing what Naruto was doing. Why did you do that? Didn't you know that my first thoughts would be to return to Orochimaru-sama? Said Kimimaro, who saw the masked man nod his head, and then extend his hand to the albino. Yes. However, I feel that while your loyalty to him is admirable, it has been regrettably misplaced, and needs to be redirected to a cause worthy of your incredible talents, said Naruto, seeing the man take his hand to get him off to ground onto his feet. And what may that cause be, if I may ask? Said Kimimaro, who didn't know the masked man's name, and could not call him by it until it was known. You may call me Naruto. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, the Ukokage and demon lord of what will soon be all the elemental countries, said Naruto, seeing the man's eyes now widen in shock. You are the boy I fought before, who generated so many shadow clones to get back the Uchiha to Konoha, and delayed me long enough for that strange boy with a bowl-shaped hair with unorthodox fighting to take over for you in order for you to pursue your target. Do I look like that boy now, Kimimaro? Said Naruto, removing his mask and hood to reveal his face to the man, making the albino tremble in his presence. No, Ukokage-sama. Forgive me, said Kimimaro before kneeling before his new master, since it was unwise to upset a demon lord. You will be forgiven this one time, Kimimaro, but you have a lot of repenting to do for your time serving Orochimaru. From here on out, you earn your repentance through me, and the work we do throughout the various places I order you to go. If you fail to do so, I will take away what I have given you, and so will Yugito if I find you are not meeting our expectations. Understand? Said Naruto, his eyes glowing crimson, and they told the now obedient albino that it was either servitude or die again. I pledge my loyalty to you, Ukokage-sama, until I die, again, said Kimimaro, keeping himself kneeled to the ground before Naruto and looked the man in the eyes to show he meant every word of it. Good. Our next task is to hunt down members of Akatsuki. Fortunately, I know where they will strike first, and that is why we will be heading towards the borders of Wind Country, said Naruto, seeing the albino nod, though he was going to need the proper clothes for such a place due to the desert there. If I may be so bold to ask, Ukokage-sama, but who is Akatsuki after that lives in Wind Country? Said Kimimaro, knowing that in order to take out a hunter you must look at who is being hunted. A dear friend of mine. He lives in Suna. He is known as Subaku no Gara, and if what I heard is correct, he has become the cage of Suna during his time back there after that sound Suna invasion fiasco failed. However, you will not be going with us, Kimimaro, as the place will burn you to a crisp with the intense sunlight there, and I need you to do a little business in Wave Country concerning the contracts they have with Konoha. They will be expiring in few years from now, and I want the trade in Wave Country to go to a village that has already begun redeeming themselves of their past sins. While Yugito and I save Gara, I am entrusting you, Kimimaro, to write up new trade contracts for Wave Country, and have them begin trading with Suna right after the contract from Konoha expires. Can I trust you with such a mission? Said Naruto, seeing the albino look at him with sheer determination that he would succeed no matter what. I will begin at once, Yukokage-sama. Who should I speak to in terms of handling the contact? Said Kimimaro, since he needed to know who he was dealing with, and how to approach it. Find the man named Tazuna. He is the master bridge builder there, and the people named the bridge after me. You will treat him respect and kindness along with his family. Tell them I am alive and well, they will understand what I mean. Also, while you were dead, I have successfully relocated the Fuma clan to Wave Country, so if they spot you, they will most likely see you as an enemy. Take this, said Naruto, handing Kimimaro a pendant with the kanji for Kyuubi on it, which the albino took without question, and looked at it for a good moment. This will show them I am with you, Yukokage-sama, said Kimimaro, looking from the pendant to Naruto. Yes. Never lose that, Kimimaro, for it is the only thing that will show them that you are loyal to me unless I am with you directly, said Naruto, knowing that if that fell into the hands of someone else, then someone might suspect that he was still alive despite what was told in Konoha by his traitorous sensei. I understand, Yukokage-sama. I will head to Wave Country at once, said Kimimaro before bowing to his master and then heading in the direction of Wave Country after Naruto pointed in the direction to go. Can we trust him, Naruto? Said Yugito once Kimimaro was out of hearing range. Yes. I saw the look of pure loyalty in his eyes. He will serve us with the same fanatical devotion that he did Orochimaru, and that is what matters. We gave him new life and we cured him of his disease forever. He would kill Orochimaru himself if I asked him to, and I have no doubt he would be the Sannin easily, said Naruto before he put his mask and hood on before leaving this bone-covered place with Yugito right behind him. So many things to do, so little time.